So the first thing I considered, and really the only thing I considered, was what job would you have if you were only 6 inches tall?
Of course.
Because obviously, like, living and living expenses are way reduced, actually. So if you have any kind of real job, you're just fucking proportionally making so much money.
Yeah.
So after some brainstorming, what I decided was the best and most awesome job when you were 6 inches tall is being an exterminator.
Ooh. It'd be kind of scary, wouldn't it?
It seems terrifying, yeah.
Yeah, so here's one thing. New York City, you're an exterminator. New York City rats are about 16 to 20 inches long.
You're a goddamn knight. Like,
like I said, you're gonna be the most badass person in the world. So they are bigger than you by you're about as tall as, you're taller than them, but they're twice as long as you are tall.
yeah.
And another fun thing that you're going to have to struggle with is they gather in small colonies of about 30 to 50 rats, which I don't consider small colonies, but that's what is said on the internet.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That implies that there are also large colonies of rats, which makes me absolutely terrified.
Yeah, so you're going to need a weapon. And I was thinking, like, making like a little crossbow or something cute like that, like a spear. But no, this is America. You can get a fucking gun.
Can you hold a gun?
The miniature revolver C1ST, which you can purchase for $6,200 from Swiss Minigun, is a tiny firearm that measures just more than 2 inches long and weighs less than an ounce.
Will you be able to withstand the recoil?
That was my next question.
Finally, I did a lot of ballistics. I did not look at that one.
That's important. It's an important detail.
I'll have to do a follow-up episode where I check my math. But I considered the other important things, whether they would actually do any good, because this is a tiny gun. Like, it fires a 2.34 millimeter caliber bullet.
Oh, that's adorable. I guess it's like the size of your fist, though, right?
Yeah, it's like smaller than the palm of your hand. Funnily, it's actually banned in the US because a gun is not allowed to have a barrel less than 3 inches long for, like, concealed weapon stuff. And the whole gun isn't 3 inches long. But it is just small enough for you to be able to use it as, like, maybe not as, like, a pistol, but you can hold on to it and, jigger it around.
I mean, the concealed weapon thing doesn't apply to you.
Yeah.
You can't conceal that.
It is your job. This is your professional equipment. Like, this is your job. You're going to have a license anyway.
This gun is a third as long as you are. This is basically like one of those giant anime swords, but a revolver, which is pretty badass, except that it's also adorable.
It's got a lot of good stuff going for it. So, my first question is, does this gun even work? Will this gun actually produce enough force to hurt a rat? According to the internet, the force of this gun is 0.71 foot-pounds, or about a newton of force.
Doesn't seem like a lot.
It's not great.
That's what I was thinking. So, I went online, and this is probably my favorite thing that someone actually ever did this, from Studies on Wounds, Healing by H. Fenton and G.B. West from the University of London in Brunswick Square. They did this study back in 1963, where they measured the tensile strength of rat skin.
As one does.
As one does in 1963 when there's obviously nothing better to do.
The 60s were a weird time, guys.
Why would you ever need that information?
I don't know. I think I think the actual reason is medicine and, talking about needles or scalpels and all this bullshit. But I like it out of context way better. Anyhow, sheer tensile strength of rat skin, 200 grams per centimeter, giving it a sheer strength of 120 grams per centimeter. And another fun thing to Google, the thickness of rat skin is 2.09 millimeters.
Good to know.
Good to know.
So, doing some calculations, the force required to puncture that thickness of skin with the radius of that bullet, you actually only need 0.002 newtons, which is way less than our 1 newton.
All right.
So this gun is like overkill.
Not as much, because, yeah, you can break the skin, but you're just breaking the skin. The question is, does it do any damage to the rat?
Oh, yeah.
So, I sat down, and I broke out literal integrals, figuring out from the initial traveling velocity of 400 feet per second, how much damage it does based on the density of the rat flesh. So, once you hit it at 400 feet per second, once it's in the rat, it's going to decelerate at 142,000 feet per second squared. And tippity-tappity, all the math done, your bullet actually goes through about 6 to 7 inches of rat before it stops.
All right.
That's a good amount.
Long story short, we have our weapon. So, you can now kill rats. Great. Second problem. There's 30 to 50 of these things. Things can go south pretty quickly. You need an escape plan. The nice thing about being very small is that you're also very light. So I was thinking, can you use those little CO2 cartridges as a jetpack? Again, math time. I did a lot of math on this one. I had nothing better to do with my week.
I like to imagine that each of these is like a question on a physics test.
Yeah, they honestly could be. I got to rehash some of my old physics knowledge.
Question 1. If you are 6 inches tall and you need to kill a rat with a tiny gun.
Can you do it?
Can you do it?
Why aren't tests like that? I would love that. That would be the best fucking exam.
I know, right?
Except it wouldn't be, because when your goal isn't to have fun and your goal is to pass the exam, getting a bullshit question like that is like, what the fuck, professor?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I remember there was one exam, it was like, we learned how to do buildings, where it's like, you learned how to do, like, design, like, 3 beams next to each other. And that was all fine and good. That was complicated. And then our final question was like, imagine a building with infinite beams.
No.
And literally I was like, are you goddamn joshing me? Anyhow, back to tiny person jetpack. According to my calculations, you weigh about 0.9 pounds, or 40 grams. The CO2 canisters weigh 25 grams each. So they actually weigh more, if you put 2 of them together, they actually weigh more than you do, but like, when you get to sizes that small, like, you can really support a lot more than your body weight. It's not equivalent of like carrying like 200 pounds on your back. So what can you do with these gas canisters? If you just cancel out the force of gravity on yourself, the CO2 cartridge has 850 psi of pressure within it, and if you use just the minimal amount of force, you can actually hover for about 11 seconds with your 2 canisters, which is pretty handy for maneuvering around.
Yeah, no, that's good.
But you're not going to really use this for travel like that much. Like, this is your emergency button. So what happens when you hit the emergency button? If you look at those little car races where you like make the wooden car in shop and you put the canister in the back and they shoot off, that's pretty much going full out. So the gas canisters get used up in 0.45 seconds. So let me see here.
Do math in your head?
Yeah, doing the math in my head real quick. Sorry, I have a lot of notes and I'm trying to find the bottom number. So your thing shoots up. After 0.45 seconds, you are traveling 109 miles per hour straight up.
And then you die.
And it takes 5 seconds after that before you finally hit the peak 0 velocity.
And then you die.
Yeah, or 1 second. I mean, again, you can use this in short bursts. So if you're in an enclosed space, you can just like shoot up for not the full 0.45 seconds, just for like half a second and get up to whatever you need to. So you have enough get up and go to escape away from the rats. But I'm thinking the movie moment where you gotta like use the full canisters. Like the rat zombies are converging. There's thousands of them and you need to get the fuck out of there. So if you use them all and you add up all the distance you traveled and your speed and everything, you get 450 feet of lift from these 2 cartridges. And what you guys said, hey, you're dead. Not necessarily. The largest G-force survived on record is by John Stott, as he set a speed sled land speed record. Has the word speed in it like 4 times, because this man survived a G-force of 25 Gs.
Whoa, that's a lot.
Yeah, so basically 25 times the force of gravity pushing on you.
How much is like a normal roller coaster? There's good up to like 4 Gs maybe, right?
Yeah, pretty small.
Don't people usually black out at like 9 or 10?
Yeah, like 11 is if you're not trained, you're gonna have some problems. You're gonna be trained. This job is not a job you don't train for.
No, definitely. Yeah.
You are gonna need your fucking $6,200 miniature revolver C1ST manufactured by Swiss minigun. But the jetpack only puts you under 24 G's of force.
So you're just good.
Technically alive.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think you need to get any more badass than that. Like, you have your gun, you have your jetpack. You're basically like the Boba Fett of rats. Oh, 2 guns. Oh, you can kill twice as many rats.
Yeah.
And once you make it real big, you can get even more badass, because there's a solid gold version of the tiny gun available for $60,000 that even has a tiny rocket launcher attachment, which fire luminescence rockets that explode in green, white, or red.
why?
That's incredible.
Why does this exist?
I think when you're buying a $60,000 2-inch long golden gun, you don't ask questions like that.
Like, if you're making a gun, why would you ever think, oh, I'm going to attach a rocket to this?
Chris, you're not making a gun. You're making a tiny, tiny, tiny gun. This is like a hobby project. This is not a...
Yeah, the bigger problem is not just why would you put a rocket launcher on it? Why would you put a rocket launcher in which the rocket is approximately the size of like a fingernail clipping on it? I think I was overestimating the sound that it was going to make. The impact is like...
Okay, I was about to say, I'm like, Ben, your mic didn't even pick up that noise you made.
No, yeah, that's how quiet it was.
You're fighting all these rats and it sounds something like this!